Well, thank you, Amit, for the invite today. My name's Daryl Moon, and I'm going to talk about duplicate rules and how we can manage those in a Salesforce environment. Now, the built-in duplicate rules that we have in Salesforce deal with preventing new duplicates being created. Okay. They don't deal with the duplicates that you've already got inside your org. But if you go to the App Exchange, there's some great applications there that will help you manage those. So outside of the ones that you've already created, what we're trying to do with the duplicate rules, this built-in feature, is prevent any new duplicate rules being created. Okay, so if you haven't looked at your duplicate rules before and what's configured, you will see something like what we've got on my screen here, minus the one at the top, which is the new one that I've created. And if we just look at the lead object for starters, let's have a look at what a matching rule looks like for leads. Now, when we say matching rule, there's two parts to duplicate rules. There's a matching rule, which says this is the configuration that will tell me when a duplicate record is found. So what has to match? Is it first name and last name and company name? What are the rules around what constitutes a match? That's the first part, and we'll look at that first. The second half is the duplicate rule, and that says if the match is triggered, what do we do? Okay, so step one, let's look at the matching rule. And our standard lead matching rule, you notice mine is currently inactive, looks like this. Well, because it's a built-in one, we don't actually see the detail of what's inside it. And you have to actually click on this link here for more info that will take us to another page. In fact, a Salesforce help page that explains what the standard lead matching rule looks like. And it's for contacts and leads, it describes. So it describes quite a complex set of rules that determine what is a match. Okay, so you can come back here at any time and you can read these. And there's a complicated equation here about, so that first part is for contact. Here is the one for lead. So it's using the following. If the first name and last name and company are a match, or the first name and the email, or first name and last name and company, or first name and mailing street and city or zip code or phone number. Okay, so you can see it's quite complicated. And it has the threshold number of points, etc. Okay, so it's quite a complex one. Might not be what we want. So that is why I often deactivate this one and create my own, so I know exactly what the rules are. And I've created a new one. So I've just gone new rule and I've created a new lead matching rule. And I've said that my criteria is the first name is an exact match. We ignore blanks. The last name is an exact match. Ignore blanks. And the company name is a fuzzy match. Again, ignoring the blanks. Okay, so that's my matching rule. So first name and last name match, and the company name is a fuzzy match. What's a fuzzy match? Well, it's similar name. So if we had certified CRM as one company name, and we try to create a new lead with the same first name and last name and a company name of certified CRM LTD or limited, something like that, a suffix on the end of the name, That would be a fuzzy match because the core part of the name is the same. Okay, so that would constitute a match. In fact, when you do fuzzy matching on first name, Salesforce is really clever and can do things like William equals Will, or William equals Bill, or William equals Billy, or Elizabeth equals Liz or Libby. Okay, so it's quite clever on first name matching as well. Okay, but our lead matching rule is pretty simple. Let's just review that. It's first name match, last name match, and a fuzzy match on the surname. Okay, let's now look at the duplicate rule, which says when that match occurs, what do we do? Okay, and you'll notice that we're just concentrating on the ones that are active. Okay, and we've got two active. I've turned off all the other ones. So the account and the contact duplicate rules, I've turned those off for now. I'm just concentrating on these ones. And in fact, I've got two lead duplicate rules. And there's a good reason for that. Let's start with this first one. And I've called this one input lead. So by this, I'm talking about I'm importing it by the keyboard. So direct input by me or somebody else on the sales team. So what's going to happen here is, so we've got a name for it and we've got a description. So it's working on the lead object and using normal record security. So that means that it's going to obey the sharing rules that would apply to me as the user when I'm logged in. Okay, so if I can see those records, then those are the ones that will be checked to see if I'm creating a duplicate against. There might be records that I can't see because of the sharing rules. So duplicate checking won't be performed against those records. But you can change that setting and you can flip that around. Okay, so the action that we will take here is we will block any attempt to create a new lead where my lead matching rule is in place. And remember, my lead matching rule, and it's over here actually on the matching criteria, is first name is an exact, last name is an exact, and the company name is a fuzzy match. So that's our criteria in our matching rule. This one is the other half, the duplicate rule. So we're saying if we find that match there, then enforce this, block the creation of the lead. But there's a condition. And the condition is that this lead source, so that's a field on the lead record, is not equal to web. Okay, so if the lead source is the value is something else, then we're going to block the creation of a duplicate. Now, why would we want to do that? It's a good question. And this question came up just the other day because I posted an article about how we could use duplicate rules and matching rules. And somebody said, yeah, that's fine, but it doesn't work for me because we've got leads that are created from the website. So the user on the website fills out a form and hits submit. They don't have the capability of dealing with a duplicate, right? So we can't entrust them to go, like we can't show them another record and say, hey, it looks like it's this record. Is that the one you wanted? Because we don't know who they are, right? They're not a authenticated user inside the system. There's somebody from outside. So we can't give them that control over deciding whether it's a duplicate or not. So we just got to let them through, basically, if they come through from the web. And so to solve that problem, this is why we've got two duplicate rules. So here's the first one. So we're saying if it's not come from the web, then block it. Okay, that's fine. Let's look at the other one. And the other one says, and it's active, And the other one says, if it does come from the web, okay, so if the lead source does equal web, then allow it. Okay, allow the record to be created, allow the record to be changed if it's being edited, allow that as well. But report on this. Okay, so there is a report that you can run that shows duplicate records that have been created. Okay, or it shows when the rules, the duplicate rules, haven't been applied, and we've allowed this record to be created. Okay, so we can have somebody then go through that report on a regular basis to check and find any of the duplicates that have come from that web lead source. Okay, and this one's active. So it's using the same matching rule. So the same matching rule applies. First name is exact, last name is exact, company's fuzzy still. Okay, so that hasn't changed. So we're still relying on the same match, but our action that we're taking, the duplicate rule action, is in this one to allow, but only when the web source equals lead. Sorry, equals web. Lead source equals web. Okay, so let's have a look and see that in action. So remember, if our lead source equals web, we allow it. Okay, so let's go to our sales app. We'll select leads and let's have a look at all the leads that we've got because we want to create something that's similar. Okay, so we might use this one here, Joe Dillon. Okay, so the company in this case is Dillon family, and the name is Joe Dillon. Okay, so we want to do an exact match on first name, last name, and a fuzzy match on company name of the new lead that we're going to create. Okay, so let's do a new lead. Now I've got some record types here. I'll just pick any one of them. Okay, so our first name has to be Joe, and our last name has to be Dillon. Okay, and our company name wants to be Dillon Family. Oh, we could do it. Okay, here's our pop-up. All right, so as soon as we basically moved out of that field, we got a pop-up saying, hey, there's a problem here. We've got a duplicate record. At this stage, we haven't specified what our lead source is, but it's not web, so we're blocked. If we change it to web, then we can actually ignore that message and we can go ahead and save, except mobile is a required number. And we'll call this one Mr. Joe Dillon, so we know that this is the new one we've created. Okay, so what should happen here is this should be permitted because our web source, our lead source is web. So imagine that this is coming from a web to lead form and we save and that is permitted. Okay, and Mr. Joe Dillon. Okay, now we do have the duplicate pop-up message here saying, hey, it looks like there is a duplicate. So this is a separate function. And that's showing us that it looks like there are two of them. Okay, and we know that, that's fine. Okay. Let's create another lead. And we'll do the same. Well, Dylan Inc. this time. That should be close enough for a match, hopefully. We'll say this time, this has come through as a phone inquiry, and one of our operators has input this, and we'll give them a phone number. And hopefully that's enough. Now, I'm not sure whether this Dylan Inc. is going to be a match. It looks like it might not be yet. Let's see. Okay, that wasn't close enough. Okay. But remember that we also had the block on edit as well. So if we go back and change this one to family, it should block. Yes, there we are. Okay, so Dylan Inc. to Dylan family wasn't close enough for a match, but that one was. What if we went something like, let's just dismiss that for now, and now go across and try to save that. Okay, again, that wasn't quite close enough, but that should be. Yes. Okay, so you can see the fuzzy matching at work there. Okay, and it's blocking, not letting us go through and save. Although that one it did. That's interesting. Why did that let us save? If we did Dylan family. Now that's interesting that that let us save there. Let's go back and have another look at so our lead source there was phone inquiry. Let's go back to setup and let's just see why that might have occurred. So duplicate rules. And the matching is okay. It's on the actual duplicate rule part. And we were editing the rule there. Okay, so this is our input lead duplicate rule because our lead source was not equal to web. Okay, can we see why that occurred? There's two different actions here on the record. And maybe it's a little bit clearer if we go into edit mode. The action on creation of a new record is to block the duplicate creation. But the action on edit, now we were editing that rule, that record, because we went from Dylan Inc. to Dylan Family or Dylan Family Inc. So we were editing that record. The action on edit was to allow it, but we alert. So we produced that pop-up message and we also included it in our report. Okay, so if we wanted to be a bit stricter there, we would also block this one. And the alert text no longer makes sense when we block because we can't say use one of these records. We can just say duplicate something like that. And let's save that. Okay, so if we now go back, I'll just refresh that page. And save that record, which is fine because we no longer got an exact match. And now we make that family the closer match. Okay, so now we've got a slightly different message. Notice that's now got a red background. We've hit a snag and you can't save this record. because a duplicate record exists. Use a different to save, use different information. Okay, so slight variation in the message. The other one I think had an orange banner and was a warning message, whereas this one is a stop. There's nothing that you can do. You cannot save that record. Okay. And of course, it will show that we have a duplicate record with this other one here. All right, so let's just go back to our duplicate records again, back to setup, and just review that. So we turned off our standard matching rule because it was pretty complicated and it didn't really match exactly what we wanted. We wanted something a little bit simpler that just basically said if the first name and last name is the same and the company name's pretty close, then that's a match. So that's our new rule, and that's the one that's active. And we turned off our existing standard one. And then we set up two duplicate rules. One to handle the web leads, and we said if lead source equals web. Now, what we would do in our form, so the form that's on your website, maybe you use the Salesforce web to lead feature to build that form. In there, we would set lead source equal to web by default. So the user didn't see that field. It would be like an invisible field, and that value would be set. Okay, so it's like hard coded into that as that value. So then all of our leads coming via the web page would have that value, and this duplicate rule would run and would say, basically let them through because there's nothing that we can do with them from the website. And then the other one is the duplicate rule for leads that we import directly into Salesforce. Now you'll notice that there are also other duplicate rules here for contacts with duplicate leads or leads with duplicate contacts. Now they're interesting. They're not active at the moment, but basically what you can do is, because leads and contacts are so similar and a lead gets converted into a contact, it's important that with duplicate checking is that when somebody's creating a new contact, that you make sure that there's not an existing lead for them. Okay, so this can actually check against contacts with duplicate leads. So is there an existing lead for this contact? Or is there an existing lead for this contact? So that vice versa, okay? And they use standard matching rules on the other end as well. Okay. And then account duplicate matching rules has a standard account matching rule. If we look at that matching rule, again, this is an inbuilt one, and it takes us off to Salesforce Help to explain what's in there. And in this matching rule, so it uses these match keys, an occasion, and a criteria. And I honestly don't understand what that means. I expect it's like take two words out of that, 6 characters out of each, a total of 6 characters, and that's kind of what it looks like it's come up with. 6 characters in total. Yeah, not sure. And then the matching equation is looking for account name and billing street being the same, or account name and city and state, or account name and zip code, or account name and phone number, or website and phone, or website and billing. Okay, so quite a complicated one again, which might not meet your requirements. And that's why you do have the option with these matching rules and the duplicate rules of simply creating your own. Okay, so if it doesn't meet your requirements, you can create your own. And then on the duplicate rules, again, you can create your own. So if this duplicate rule here for accounts doesn't do what you want, and this one is basically going to allow on both ends, so both on creation and on edit. If that's not what you want, you can either edit this one or create your own, and then of course activate it. And it's using, because this is the other half, it's using standard account matching rule. So again, you can create your own account matching rule, and in this one, in this duplicate rule, you reference that. Okay, so you can turn that off or on again. So just to finally wrap up and conclude what we've talked about here is matching rules define, and both of these, the matching rules and the duplicate rules, only cover existing duplicate records that you have. Sorry, only prevent new ones. They don't cover the existing stuff. Okay, so if you've imported a whole bunch of leads and created a whole bunch of duplicates against your contacts, then this is not going to help. Go to the App Exchange and have a look. There's some great tools there. If you search under duplicate rules, there's some great tools there to help fix that problem. This is preventing them in the future. Okay. If you haven't already turned this on, if you haven't already configured this, then I suggest you go and have a look, set it up in your sandbox, test it out, configure the matching rules, configure your duplicate rules, make sure you understand how it works and do some training with your users before you turn it on in production environment. But this will help prevent duplicate rules, whether they be leads or contacts or accounts, from occurring. Now, just one last thing. Why do we want to prevent these duplicate rules? Imagine this situation. You're dealing with a customer and they're interested in your product and you've been emailing them and you're making them an offer of a price on a product. Okay. And so you're dealing with John Smith from whatever company name, and you happen to have a duplicate record for another John Smith from the same company. Okay, so you've got two duplicate contacts. Your colleague is also dealing with that same person. You don't know because you think it's a completely different person because you're dealing with John Smith, the contact. Your colleague is also dealing with the same person, unbeknown to you. So this John Smith is getting offers from two different people at the one company. Now, if he's smart, he's going to twig something's gone wrong here. And the worst case scenario, he's going to play off you against your colleague without either of you knowing to try to get a better price. Now, that's not a good scenario. It makes you look pretty silly and potentially is going to cost your company money. Okay. So this is why the duplicate rules and duplicate records are such a problem. We want to make sure that we're giving the customer the best user experience possible. And that if we're dealing with John Smith at ABC Enterprises, that we only have one record for him and we only have one record for his company. And everybody who's dealing with them is on the same page. We're looking at the conversation of actions, events, chatter messages, and so on around that record. We've only got one record. We've only got one John Smith. Okay. If we've got duplicates and we're dealing with we think we're dealing with two different people, a bad end user experience and a bad result for you, because once he twigs out what's going on, he's going to think not only are you a bit stupid, but he's going to take advantage of that and play off one deal against the other. Okay. So if you haven't dug into matching rules and duplicate rules, hopefully now I've given you a good background on why you should, what can go wrong if you haven't got them turned on, and you do suffer from duplicate rules. All right. Well, thank you, Amit.